Welcome to Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. Usually I take this time to introduce my esteemed co-host, Dr. Luke Gledall, but I'm going to take that time to take this special moment.
Palmer's taking it short now for Adthe. Still Nuhiu, dribbling his way through. It's still Adthe. Bending it for the top corner. What a goal that is from Adthe. That is fantastic. You wouldn't expect that from Nuhiu. But hey, I've just witnessed it. It's gone into the top corner. It's amazing from the Kosovan. Wednesday surely sealing it now. The Alps 3, Preston 1. Even just look, I can't quite believe it. High-fiving the coaching staff. What a finish.
Oh, Adthe, what can you say? That is a superb goal.
Little nutmeg that bends over the top of Declan Rudd. That's a stunner, isn't it?
That is an amazing goal. Absolutely stunning and amazing.
I just thought, we've got to mark the occasion that this is officially Adthe Nuhiu. Big Dave, affectionately known, has left the club, and that was one of the standout moments of his time with us. I just thought taking a minute or so to reflect was a justified thing to do. What were your thoughts in this sort of landmark moment, Luke?
It's really weird. It's, I feel like we're putting down the family dog, It feels like he's someone who's been part of the fabric of the football club for 7 years now. So it's a heavy-hearted and sad kind of goodbye.
Yeah, definitely. What a treat to have him at the club, and how many wonderful moments he's had. And I just sort of think everything that he produced and every goal that he scored, it was all a lot of effort, a lot of hard work, and a time when, those times when we've had to graft and not particularly rely on guile or skill. Adthe's sort of been the best version of that type of player so often for us, and it's going to be such a shame to not have him as an option anymore. But wish him the best on his the next stage of his travels, and I'll still follow the Kosovan score lines until he finally hangs up his boots. We should probably. I should probably now just check in on how you're doing, Luke. I mean, how's life treating you?
I'm good. It's been a weird week. We've had that kind of transition into fall weather here, so that kind of nip in the air. But we're in that beautiful kind of moment right now, which is like the days of warm, when it is warm, and you get a bit of crispness to the evening. So it's a nice kind of beautiful time of the year. I'm happy.
Very nice. Well, lovely. That's nice to hear. I think we should cover the rest of the
Breaking hoo-hoos.
Yeah, the rest of the news this week. So we've waved goodbye to a long servant of the club, but we've welcomed a new youngster in Coridi Adthe. Released by Everton, he spent some time last season at Hamilton Academicals. I think he played one game for their under-20s, and I think they've got a bit like the Football League trophy. They allow youth teams of the Premier League teams to put clubs forward for those competitions. So even though it's an under-20s game, I think it's a competitive game that he's taken part in. He's got a squad number. He sort of, it seems like he obviously initially joined the under 23s, but presumably has impressed enough to spend a bit of time with the first team as well.
Yeah, I mean, we can't ever say anything other than that it is positive. The interesting thing I was saying to you previously is that the fact that, he was a player that was kind of linked with us during that moment of, FDB's long kind of courtship into putting pen to paper. And also during the time we were linked with the other lad from Man City, who's a friend of Fizz's. Kiki Simmons, Keandre Simmons,
Yes,
I think
right.
his name is, who's another young kind of promising attack-minded player. So I think there's a lot to be kind of held with I think Wednesdayites have typically thought that this players within that bracket, like a player who's, young, talented, released from a Premier League academy and hopefully looking to kind of reignite and kind of start their career on a different stage, at a lesser league. I guess the interesting thing is we don't really know where on that spectrum he lies, as like how close to any degree of first team football. I think when we talked about this previously, I did bring up Manuel Hidalgo, who's been an interesting one that signed for the under 23s, for development. But seemingly, we've heard a lot of good things about him impressing in training, and him apparently being close to around the first team picture or the first kind of 16 as well. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's promising. It's good to see he's got some previously good stats. Hopefully, he can kind of kick on and push forward with us. And I mean, he has 2 years to do it at Sheffield Wednesday. So yeah, here's to you.
Yeah, and another, I suppose, from the very little we know, looks like another kind of pacey, dynamic sort of player. So it's sort of part of this change, this huge change that the squad is going through. It feels like another sort of step in that direction. Potentially, if he does end up sort of getting near to the first team, and then the sort of final bit of news for the week is we've been very heavily linked with Kenneth Zohore, the sort of Danish forward who's currently at West Brom, but had his best time in English football playing for our opponents today, Cardiff City. A bit of a shock player to be linked with, fair to say?
I think so. I think the thing that is refreshing looking at the players we have at the club on, up front, and the players we've been linked with as part of this kind of coming in, which he's one of them now. It's a really refreshing amount of talent to be linked with for a player who previously went for about £8 million.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
That's never really seemed a player who's been that kind of massively off form in previous loan spells, I want to say. I think he's had a bit of a dry spell when last kind of loan spell. But I don't know. There's still very much a player in there. And, a player with promise to perform well, but also all those attributes. Like I think you said previously when we chatted a little about this midweek, but you said he's a different league of athlete.
Yes, yeah. I think, I mean, obviously he's got the build sort of going for him. He's got some pace to him. He's 6'2", so certainly the sort of target man you can potentially sort of build things round. I was surprised looking at we sort of talked last week about Kachunga, and the surprising thing there was that he's supposedly this kind of nippy winger, and almost all the goals he scores are headers. And he seems to be Zohore seems to be the opposite of that, in that he's 6'2" and almost all of his goals are from outside the box. So in a way, you sort of think him and Kachunga might be a natural pairing, even though they don't score the sort of goals you'd imagine them to. But I thought that was interesting. That I don't think any of his goals for Cardiff City, that was the YouTube clip that I watched in preparation for him potentially coming on board, I don't think any of his goals were headers, which is an interesting twist on the formula. But yeah, he would be a natural replacement for Fletcher, and I think I hope that we don't end up playing exactly like we did last season. But it's a good option to have. It was very effective during that first half of the season when Fletcher was fit. So if we have the ability to play in our current formation effectively, and we can also slip into a sort of 4-5-1 in the same mold that we played last season, then it's another string to the bow. You don't want to be too predictable unless you've got incredibly good players that you'll come up against teams that have figured you out or have threats that push against your weaknesses. So it's nice to have other options.
It's also great to be linked with a player of that kind of caliber. I think it gives us more of an idea, even if this is just a agent paper talk. I think this is probably getting us in the realm of this is going to be, the best striker who's going to come to the club in terms of prowess, in terms of background. Like the next one, the striker number 4 is going to be exciting.
Yeah, it's a sort of, hopefully means we're sort of fishing in certain waters, and that is an exciting place to be. You're right. Agent paper talk, famously, for every deal he succeeds in, there's 100 that he mentions that never happen. But he's still one of the most popular agents out there. Right.
It's an interesting surname, really. And I mean, obviously, we talked about Adthe, who, you could say he is the son of Doyen. So maybe we could also make some connections there, right? It's interesting. I mean, you could say it's nominative determinism.
We could say that. Nominative determinism. Yes.
So, his name was John Paper Talk, and he grew up to be an agent. But a lot of his deals just fell through, because they often got out into newspapers. So there we go. It became Agent Paper Talk.
Agent Paper Talk, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he, Agent Paper Talk, reporting for duty. Right, we should move on to the game in the diff against Cardiff City. We sort of lined up with Dawson getting the nod in goal. Van Aken replaced Burner at the left side of that centre-back pairing. Penny kept his position on the left side of left-sided wing-back, and we went with Rhodes and Windass up top. So quite a significant batch of changes from last week's match. What did you sort of make of it when you saw the lineup for the first time?
I guess it was interesting for a number of reasons. It's funny, last time out against Walsall, we were doing that. I think we joked previously last season about having no confidence in the strikers. So then, in effect, I'd rather go the 4-6-0. And then we didn't have any recognised strikers against Walsall. So it was like a 3-7-0, right, technically. So the interesting thing about that is, actually, there's something else I thought about recently I'll get onto that since kind of in retrospect, which is something. But, I mean, for a midfield 3, that's pretty damn good, having Luongo, Brown and Bannon. I'm really happy that Penny starts.
Mm-hmm.
Unsure as to where Burner is right now, so that was a real surprise to see Van Aken starting in there. And interesting to see Rhodes playing up front with Windass, an actual strike partnership in a time when we're a bit slight on strikers still.
Definitely. Yeah.
So it was interesting for that. The thing I kind of thought afterwards recently and came back to was, I'm wondering if it's a long season. There's plenty of opportunities. I'm sure there'll be suspensions and injuries, hopefully not so many.
Yeah.
But maybe a little bit sad on Fizz that he missed out.
Yeah, maybe. I think you're right. He did sort of play well enough that doesn't feel like he was dropped for form. But I do think Izzy Brown did more in the midfield in the brief time that he was moved away from being up top. I think he did more, a bit like Penny. The best part of the game was when Izzy Brown was an attacking midfielder rather than being a second striker. So I can see the sense to it, but I think you're right. In a way, it's a bit of a shame he wasn't involved, and when the way the subs fell, he didn't get a chance to make his league debut either. But there'll be time. He'll
exactly.
Hopefully, he'll get his moment. And
it's not a great tragedy, but I mean, maybe that's a triumph of what we've got right now. Is that we still think we have talented players on the fringes who will miss out. No Odebajo, even in the 16.
Yeah.
Which was kind of surprising. I mean, looking at the bench was interesting. Interesting to see Shaw kind of there in the mix. Joey P is the kind of standard place on the bench. A lot of, some interest. And, but, when I saw the lineup, I actually had a tinge of optimism and thought, this is kind of like it. It's not too far off. I'm going to be honest.
The first choices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and you had a bit of bother following the action, at least initially?
I did, and I understand that there's a bit of a strange mentality to what we do these days, and people can't attend games. The fun thing is it's the start of a season. Everyone has that clamour. Everyone has that excitement. A bit like as how Rich and I probably couldn't say because we're too grossly out of shape men in our mid-30s. I'm sure this is January time at the gym. Everyone's there, and this is the first day of the season. So if this was an actual game, there'd be, it'd be a bumper crowd. If it was at Cardiff, if it was at Hillsborough, I'm sure it'd probably get 26, 27, 28,000. So everybody's clamoring to get on this. And the evening prior, I thought to myself, I really hope iFollow doesn't have any issues with all the people wanting to access it tomorrow.
And then, ba-ba-bum.
And then, Freddie foreshadowing kind of pops up. It seems exactly that was the situation. So I, as much as sometimes I would rather prefer to watch a white circle rotate in the middle of black than Sheffield Wednesday. That's actually what I got on my laptop, and I managed to get on my phone literally just in time for the Windass goal on the 3rd minute of the game. So a little bit frustrated with iFollow, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah,
I could complain, but I don't think that's going to do any good. I don't think they're going to get back to me. I feel that I don't know. I feel about some kind of, it's a bit like Steamboat Willie's just been put onto a spaceship. Mickey Mouse, a 30s, 40s Mickey Mouse is out of control and whelping at all the levers that are out of control. It feels that way with iFollow. I don't know whether there's an intern who's going to get slapped for this or something. It feels like a very small, poxy little organization.
They're going to slap the intern, but they need to wait for the season where the intern is most in pain. So they're hoping, because you can't just slap a person as close to the unfortunate event as possible. You have to wait till it causes the most damage to that person. So they're waiting until they have some sort of road traffic accident, and then they will slap them on the wrist just to kind of add insult to injury. That's how the EFL works, how they dole out their punishment.
And I'm in this unique. I'm in this unique position as well that I'm overseas. I'm aware that my Wednesdayite's overseas, so I'm getting a bit of a premium in terms of the package that I get if people could actually attend games. So I do understand that. I just feel a bit sniffy about paying £30 more a season, up from £110. That's a good 25% increase for lesser service, and didn't get any commentary. And really, for all my fellow Wednesdayites who listen to this, if any of you had the grave misfortune of paying 10 English pounds to watch this or to attempt to watch this, then I'm grossly and dearly sorry to you. And that maybe puts some of my gripes in check, that it could have been worse, effectively.
Yeah.
But, again, to the point, and it's unfortunate that, this is... The club is involved in this, but it's not exactly a club operation. It's going under the EFL and going through iFollow. So that seems to be a separate entity, and they take their cut, and the rest basically goes to the club. But it's just piss poor. It's piss poor paying for something of this standard and having such a bad experience today.
Well, the thing is, as well, I'm in this strange position this season where for home games I would probably rely on iFollow, but to avoid that, paying that sort of £10 potentially, I might be rolling some dice. I might be going off on some whims, taking some chances, looking at life on the open road. The littlest hobo of the EFL. What I can say from my experiences doing that is that these clubs who have not lumbered themselves with the identikit, iFollow website and coverage generally have much better services. So this today I was watching Cardiff City TV. The commentary was very good. I do think that the iFollow commentary is good. I'm not sort of criticizing that when you get it.
No.
When you're allowed to hear it, it's good. But yeah, generally when I've experienced the clubs that have either got into the Premier League, therefore don't need to do the EFL iFollow package, or have, when the deal ran out, chose something else. Those clubs generally have much better looking websites, much better quality coverage. And
I don't know. I think
to offer.
I think the true casualty of this is, if we go up, Rich, just envision me here. We go up, we have an absolute barnstorming season. We become the next Leicester City. But obviously the big game where we're controlling a game against Manchester United 5-0, stroking around the back. I'm sure there's some Wednesdayites who've been like, this coverage of my team and getting to watch us be amazing is really good, but I really wish we could go around the grounds and see what's going on at the Keep Moat Stadium.
Yeah, always at the most sort of interesting time or interesting sounding time. But let's stop moaning. This is a good day. This was
it's a good day.
This
is an absolute dream start, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Incredible, really, and not just that. We started the performance as a whole is a dream start. The start of the performance was tremendous. 4 minutes in, some really good pressing. I think it was Windass just about caught his man. I'm going to say that was, seeing as he's been gifted with a lovely big red E next to his name, I'm guessing it was Bakuna that was sort of hassled into a loose pass. And Izzy Brown read it perfectly and in one fell swoop sort of slid in to it, not only intercept but play the ball forward into the path of Windass, who left two defenders in his wake and slotted it past the goalkeeper as if it was nothing. What a treat.
Just fantastic. Just such great vision and kind of insight and instincts from both players. But initially, I just want to kind of focus on Izzy Brown.
Yeah.
To do a play-make slide rule with a sliding interception is it's some Matrix level shit. Let's be honest.
That's too many slides for most people. Sliding on your bum and a slide rule pass. But he.
We were like, what is this? Flamingo land? All the slides.
And then we're like, no, it's Flalimbo land.
Exactly.
And
what
then
about the style and positioning from Windass to pick it up? And I mean, I think that's just such a great thing to look at. I mean, we're getting our crusty damp hankies and giving a little toodaloo to Adthe Knew You.
It's getting more and more like a Ren Stimpy zoom in moment. Oh, pus-filled faces being battered around. Sorry, go on.
But if I have to act like the two-faced god Janus of January, I'm looking back on some of the statuesque, but also statuesquely slow players like Adthe Knew You clumbering around the pitch, and looking forward to some of the bright-eyed, bushy-tailed players that just jolting around. And one of those is very much Josh Windass.
Yes, absolutely. And I agree. It was very much like Samantha Janus. I thought what he did was very attractive to me, and I think it will age well as well. So. And
you said game on, didn't you?
I said game on, even though I didn't watch as much of that as I watched Men Behaving Badly in my youth. But Windass we nearly got them again. They've been holding this crazy high line, like QPR against us. I don't know what it is about Windass. They're just like, he's not as quick as you think he is, and then no, he is quite quick. Right, we better sort ourselves out otherwise. Because he nearly got in again. Sort of played a cross through to Izzy Brown that was just a little bit too high for him. Then we did a typical Wednesday. In a great performance, this was the moment where we let everybody feel the kittens and worry about things, because we spent pretty much 10 minutes waiting for Cardiff to score. Switching off at set pieces and not clearing the box when we clear the ball and things like that. I have to admit, I did miss 5 minutes from about the 20th minute through to the 25th minute. I was searching for another stream or an alternative stream. And by the time I came back, the Cardiff commentators were mentioning how everything had calmed down and Wednesday had got things under control. So maybe the team was struggling with the stream in the same way that I was, just the stream of their minds and ability to play football.
Exactly.
I think I should mention often when it seems weird that on these on the streams you do end up listening to the opposition commentary quite often, which I don't know why that happens, but it seems to be the case more often than not. And most of the time it's really infuriating because it's huge. It's hugely one-sided. I know we watched the match with our kind of blue tinted glasses on, or blue and white tinted glasses on, but it's sort of jarring to have the alternative going on. But the commentary was really pretty good. I thought they had a good sort of they did a great job of sort of describing the game and digging in a little bit on the tactical side of things. And one thing I particularly liked, a lot of sporting commentary and the like coverage is done at this sort of tone and very loud. You've got to talk very loud and be very, very exciting. And if you knew somebody that spoke like that in real life, you would move away from them. But the nice thing was there was two Welsh guys just gently talking and with that kind of almost ASMR whispery voices, very nice and quiet. Really, I mean, obviously nothing much happened for them to get excited about, so maybe it would be different if that was the case. But enjoyable.
But the Welsh are quite a subdued and depressed breed, aren't they?
Well, in many ways, that's probably the case. But I think they would get. I think a typical Cardiff fan probably gets as rowdy and excited when they score a goal as a typical fan of any other team. But this was just, this sort of snooker-esque whispered commentary. It was just a nice break for things. And my absolute highlight, I'd sort of made a note of this, was when they'd made all their changes and kind of given up the battle in midfield, they were lamenting the fact that Bannon was getting more and more of the ball. And one of them called Bannon masterful manipulator of the ball. And I just thought that was wonderful. Masterful manipulator of the ball, playing around corners. That's what he was doing.
Excellent.
So, yes, I think there was one decent... we had that decent chance, the sort of breakaway. We then had another good chance where Windass again broke in behind them, and he had Penny sort of charging up the inside of him, and I think Rhodes was making a run, maybe Brown was making a run, but he chose to take the shot on himself and hit a very good effort. Straight at the keeper, unfortunately, but it required a save and a decent save at that. It was one of those that people get excited about, but the keeper should probably save. But that meant we got a corner, thankfully. The only problem was we took a short corner that was one of the least well-rehearsed routines I've seen in a long time. But thankfully, that was followed by a really good free kick routine. Just before half-time, 44th minute, Rhodes won that free kick. He's really good at winning free kicks still, I think.
I do think that's probably one of his kind of positives, as we said. But another thing he's great at is the old poachy.
Poachy, pokey, poachy.
And resurrecting something off a training ground for this one, did we? But this is very much like, I'd say, a Rhodes Goldberg machine. This is it. You put some peas on a fork, and that kind of kicks a badger, that the badger kind of walks a few lines. It felt like that, basically.
The badger does a few lines of cocaine, charges into a bookcase, the books all fall, that sets the house on fire, and then Jordan Rhodes scores.
That's life, isn't it, really? I mean, this is the world we live in. You could make yourself a ham sandwich, and then you turn on the news and find out that because you made a ham sandwich, Gary Bushel's suicide bombed himself in London.
The bushel fly effect. The
bushel fly effect, yes. Exactly. Also, I want to say the goal did remind me of the Sesame Street pinball number count by the Pointer Sisters.
Oh, yes.
Because it was 10 to 20 serve, and then on to 18, and number 20.
Beautiful.
Rosie scores.
It's a classic. And this was a classic Rhodes effort. Bannon sort of changed the angle with his free kick. He teed it up to an unmarked Iorfa. Iorfa flicked it across, and Windass aimed it towards the goal, but not quite. And Rhodes just got that last little flick at the end and surprised the goalie, and 2-0.
I know we're a long way away from seeing the highlights of this again. I've watched the game and I remember seeing the goal, but definitely in my mind it felt like Adthe was like 10 feet off the ground.
He got a massive lead.
Got a lot of height on it, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Maybe we should outline him and include him on some Nike basketball shoes, eh? bit of jump man, eh? My Adthe. And what a brilliant flick on it was from Windass.
Yeah, Adthe Air elevates.
Yeah, pump it up.
Pump it up. It was so good all round. And, before we even reach half time, our two strikers have got a goal each. And Izzy Brown's already got an assist. I mean, it's such a great to have those things that can become hoodoos and worries and things like that ticked off straight away is tremendous. Fantastic position to be in. It was a brilliant free kick routine. I think we tried a couple of times to kind of pick on some of their weaknesses. They're obviously a big team. They're typical kind of Harris, League One, big, strong centre-backs. So going straight down their throat would be very easy for them to defend. So it was nice to see us try some different things and actually land it on top of Kiefer Moore, who's not so good defensively as well a couple of times, because that felt like a header we would nearly always win. This is a complete break in proceedings, but I don't know if you saw any of the Arsenal Fulham game, but I was really surprised at how poor Hector looked.
Really? I did not see that. I'm going to be honest.
I'm just thinking about because there was the one where Moore kind of ducked out of the header, and we maybe should have done a bit better with it. And there was a very similar moment where the Arsenal centre back Gabriel scored, and for some reason Hector didn't even bother challenging for it. It was really odd. Given that we've seen him be so good, it was a bit disappointing. Hopefully he'll pick up after that, because I suppose there's a lot of mental strain of technically being a Premier League footballer for 6 years, but never kicking a ball in the Premier League. It's a big moment for him. But anyway, sorry, that was a complete aside.
Well, listen, I'll match you for another side here, Rich. So you remember you saw Thor Ragnarok, right?
Yes.
The only Thor film that's any good, done by Taika Waititi.
Yes.
And do you remember that the stone character that was voiced by Taika Waititi? I think his name is Korg.
Yes.
Do you think that Korg, if it was an actual person, would be the ideal player for Neil Harris?
Oh, absolutely. He'd love him.
Love a giant 7-foot clodder made of bricks, made of stone. Fantastic.
Yeah. And like a kind of goldfish-esque memory as well.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
The best moment of the match for Cardiff came just before half time. Kiefer Moore had a pretty close run thing with a header, but he didn't really get enough on it. But it was a very nice ball in by your man Junior Hoylett, your fellow Canuck.
Canuckistanian, yeah.
Yes. But half time, got to half time and it was a very efficient, effective away performance. We didn't have very much of the ball at all, but didn't look worried either.
It's that beautiful Monk ball of we have very little possession, but the stats, that small corridor of stats where it counts, attempts on target and goals. That's what we won. That's what we absolutely dominated Cardiff on. So fantastic.
And if you can somehow win the goals without having any attempts on target, you take that as well.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's when you're playing isometric football, and that really is the sort of ninth dimensional chess that we're aiming for.
We're aiming to ping it off the bar, have it come down and go in off the head of the goalkeeper who's already committed and made a dive.
Exactly. But I think sort of second half, there wasn't a huge amount of incident, but that in a way was sort of perfect for us. It was we did exactly what we needed to do. We managed the game against a team that have been in tremendous form, and they're being picked by most pundits to do pretty well again this season. I think you had them in the top 6. I had them very close.
I had them second, my friend.
I had them second. So so this is a team that's expected to do very, very well, and we made them look completely ordinary. I think just things to pick out. I thought Penny obviously had a much quieter game today, and occasionally sort of overcommitted, but played well again. I do like the balance that he gives us playing on that left-hand side. And there was a couple of breakaways that he was maybe one or two moments of good defending away from having some really nice opportunities to make things happen. So that was a nice thing to see. His continued progress. And I also really liked how much Brown got involved, not just in the attacking spells of the game, but he put his foot in and was, breaking things up as well. He was, when he needed to, he was sort of dropping back and helping his teammates. He wasn't someone that was just letting the game pass him by until the moments that interested him. He was very much a part of the team effort. Did you have any sort of notes you picked out sort of second half?
No, not much. I'm going to be honest. I think it was really some mouth-watering tedium that we had.
Yes.
That we were engaged in. It's we really controlled anything. I mean, it seemed funny. It felt, looking as a Wednesday fan, looking on this with a note of anxiety about what was going on, thinking, well, it's the 73rd minute. I mean, Cardiff could technically score a goal and then turn the momentum of the game, but it never looked like happening.
Even with Tomlin coming on, the surprise, the surprise inclusion of Tubby Lumps, who has caused us several problems in the past. It was funny, there was somebody, I think it might have been on House Talk, just an exchange of like a bit of know-allism on both sides. But somebody sort of said, he always scores against us. And the person came back and said, actually, he's only scored 3 times in 12 appearances. But it's like, that's still like 1 in 4 times he scored a goal. That's still pretty good going. Like, I know you have proven your point that he certainly hasn't scored every time against us, but that's quite a lot of goals for an opposition player to have got against us. But he looked as lost as anybody else when he came on, and it was, as you say, this is Monk ball. This is, I think, I sort of made a note a lot. Yeah, delicious mouth-watering tedium, joylessly boring. It was a performance where we were willing and able to play as well as we needed to match what Cardiff did in the second half. And I felt like if a team was going to score once we got past that sort of 60th, 65th minute, if a team was going to score, it was probably going to be us. It just felt like they didn't have very many ideas, but if they'd found a way to push us and make us uncomfortable, or they'd taken more chances, I felt like we would be able to punish them for taking those chances. We just always looked scary when we had what little possession we had. We looked so dangerous in it, and they looked so toothless all the way through. Mm-hmm. I did, and Kachunga, I think Kachunga deserves a special mention just because it didn't grab a goal himself, but looked bright, looked exciting, and a well-timed sub, I think, as well.
I agree. I wanted to say, as I am Janus, looking forward to some of the delight of the athleticism in our forward line now, which, it feels such a marked improvement on even, when we had some of the better strikers that we've had at the club in recent memory, Gary Hooper. Certainly, Gary Hooper's not going to turn to stone, but you wonder if he's going to tweak a muscle and then turn to stone. Much like a Greek mythology, Medusa's looked at him. One of the Gorgons has looked at him, has turned to stone. Fletcher, and still to a lesser degree now, Rhodes, who's obviously a little bit disappointing. Really glad he scored today, but obviously we can't look back on 3 years of middling performances and a goal return that is pitiful compared to what we thought we were going to get with Rhodes. But the thing I want to say is we're now looking at this forward line. They're on a spectrum of spryness, aren't they?
Yes.
A spry duality. They do identify as being spry.
Spectrum of Spryness is the next James Bond film, isn't it?
I think it is, yes. A quantum of spryness.
Yeah, we've talked. It's the theme from. It comes from the top. It comes from Gary Monk. But dynamism is all important here, isn't it? These are players that can play on the front foot, can take advantage of those mistakes that the opposition is going to make, and we just really timed up. We didn't. I think you have to be an absolute supreme athlete to play the way that Liverpool do. kind of hounding after everything, like like a dog chasing a ball around a park. That takes just unbelievable amounts of legs and cardio and etc. The rest of it. What's generally a more sensible thing to do when you can't rely on those premium athletes is pick your moments to press and make it count. And that's what we did so well today. I couldn't quite figure out what our trigger was, but we were close enough to them at all times that when they were making those mistakes, we were able to step up the pace and hound them a little bit to good effect. And it nearly paid off a couple of times, and we caught them a couple of times. We could easily have scored another goal or two, which is so, as we say, so strange in a game where we probably only had about 36% of possession. But a very effective, efficient performance. And it did remind me, it took me a couple of games under Carlos to get the idea. I don't want to compare it like for like, but there were games where you could just see the opposition when we were doing our jobs defensively. You could just see the opposition lose faith in their game plan and run out of ideas and start lofting hopeful things down the flanks. And that's a bit like what it was this afternoon. I got this, certain second half. I just felt like, this is this team. This is this manager's team doing what he wants them to do and doing it so efficiently that there's no cracks. There's no sort of chink in the armor for the opposition to work through because the unit is working so well. It was really heartening. What a great start to the season. I mean, you can go over the top. It's one game, but I don't think we will have had Cardiff City away down as a game that we were going to win in our plan. I certainly, when we were looking at when do we break even, Cardiff was not one of the games I thought we'd get a win in. I thought we might even have to wait till the end of September to get a win. So it's nice. It feels like we're a bit ahead of schedule in terms of getting this result. And it's nice to be able to sort of take that confidence into another tough game against Watford going forward. But that, you can't dream it. You can't even let yourself think about it properly. But the way to negate the 12 points is to get those points out of the way as quickly as possible and get yourself on equal footing. And that, I think that's the best thing today, is that we've taken 3 points off that tally and there's still loads of teams on no points and 1 point. And the more teams that are in that position, by the time we get to 12 to get the 12 out of the way and we are on 0 or 1 point, that puts us on, that's when we can stop worrying about the point deduction.
Exactly. I mean, we were kind of essentially 12 points from safety. Now we're 9 points from safety. If we can just keep work on slowly chipping away that margin, the sooner we're almost caught up to our colleagues around us. And that's really the aim of the season, obviously.
Yeah.
We could all get us out of our minds with Shay Dunkley. And I'd like to say, if you guys are listening, we would love to hang out with Shay and potentially take some legal drugs. None that will hopefully be a breach of your contract. Ho ho. I want to say, Rich, so, I mean, the interesting thing is, I think you were saying I really liked the point you were making when we were chatting a little bit earlier about, the fact that, like, how well it's working for us when we're basically relying and making a team like Cardiff just hoof it long.
Yeah, and we did. I mean, they ran out of. They went to that option fairly early doors and didn't have anything left, essentially. Yeah, there's very good signs. As I say, we don't want to. At the moment, you can extrapolate a lot from one result and get a lot of things wrong. But yeah, it's this is a great start to things, and we can. This is a day to enjoy, obviously. Shall we do some ratings?
I think we shall.
Yeah. So let's go to Big Cameron Dawson. Yeehaw.
Mild save Cammy, the Rosette Edison. And now what I deliciously learned from the second half of commentary, which came on, is there's a lovely revelation by Andy Giddings that the Millhouses Park Sheffielder. So and Millhouses Park is a place that I associate some very warm memories and was very close to me, on the kind of south end of Sheffield where I grew up around Woodseats. So that was really nice kind of callback, and it also made me think, that it's a really nice kind of bit of imagery that basically he's purely just grown up within the park itself. So,
Some feral.
exactly. He's probably been out and watched some of Millhouse's cricket that's been down there. He's probably gone in the paddling pools quite a lot. He's probably been just on the boats on the river. He's just had a whale of a time growing up. But also that makes me wonder if he's maybe that explains some of his naiveness in goalkeeping as well.
Also,
kind of jokes.
He's got no road safety.
That's true as well. He has no road safety because he's goalie. So, friend of local Badgers, Cameron Dawson. One thing that I think, stupid observation aside, there was a moment at the 70th minute where he clawed away a shot, which just. And it made me think, this is still Cameron Dawson. He's still like a little bit unconvincing. But the funny thing was that the next corner, it came in and he commanded it and held the ball really well.
Yeah, that was a good moment for him, definitely.
And there are a couple of moments where he showed some sign of that confidence of him kind of stepping up. And I love the observation you made last week, Rich, about the game against Walsall, where he said that he looked like a grown man in comparison to some gangly child he was put up against.
Yes,
in Walsall. Some I mean, I know you were watching that, Rich, and you're wondering, are the good people of Walsall's? I mean, did they? It was an early kickoff, so we wondered whether the good people of Walsall had received their newspapers that day. But he had to break his paper round for that.
Yeah,
so it's disappointing. I wonder what he spent the £5 on. But anyway, he seems to have risen a little bit, and it seemed weird. There were some moments where he's not a small man, Cameron Dawson, but he looks a bit bigger, and he looks like he's carrying himself with a bit more confidence. So I'm really keen on that. I think I'm glad to see him come back in this game. I think I want to see more of that, because I think it's saying more of what we thought previously, which Wildsmith is okay, Dawson is okay, but from what we kind of understand and from what everyone feels at the club, Dawson is probably the better one and the one more towards number one.
Yeah, I think so. The thing is, I mean, we talk about confidence players in terms of strikers. I think it can happen to an extent with goalkeepers. I mean, who knows what's going on with David De Gea, but he ended last season in dreadful form. And some people sort of said, it's because he's moving away or whatever. He's not moved. He's not, that's not happened. And that's been 2 or 3 seasons where, maybe he was going to move and he's not moved. But a big part of the difference between him when he was really good and when he's made mistakes is he was just facing less shots per game under a better defence. And if our defence can continue to play as well as they did today, then it becomes about concentration for Dawson and doing all right with those 1 or 2 like that. It was a sort of odd kind of off the shoulder type chance that he clawed away. You've got to just be awake and alive to those, and that's an easier job, I would think, than having to save the ball from going in 13, 14 times, which certainly under Yost, the last time that the first time that he played a run of games, Dawson, he was just simply, I think he was topping the table for most saves made, but he was letting in so many as well because he was just simply having to. He was the most active goalkeeper in the league, full stop. But games like today, it's much easier to be a goalkeeper today because you don't have very much to do. And he did what he had to do really well by and large. You could say that everything's coming up Millhouse.
I think you could. Yes, definitely. I think we can confidently go with a decent 7 for Dawson today.
Nice, solid 7.
More, please. And I really hope, like you said, I hope more of his competence is thanks to a good defence. We don't want the poorest defence, and to rely on a keeper to get us out of it every week, Yeah,
definitely. Let's move on then to Dominic Iorfa.
Iorfa was really good. I thought initially about giving him a 7, but I think I'm going to go to a 7.5 because that was such a great talismanic moment for the second goal, which put us in such a space of confidence, at such a great point of time. So that was great. It was nice listening to a bit of the talk about the fact Dunkley's come into the club and, he's so prolific for a defender with scoring, and kind of how it kind of has maybe awakened some of the competition within Iorfa to improve himself, and maybe having that around him in the squad is a really positive thing. So it's nice to see him have a contribution there, as well as just being very solid, very confident, very assured. So yeah, congratulations to Dominic, and especially kind of springboarding off, being the player of the season last year for a lot of Wednesdayites.
And that was him without the competition for places. Imagine where he's going to go.
We can only hope.
Worth noting, just on a kind of interesting tactical tweak, I found it interesting that we were using him to win headers from the goal kicks as well, which by and large he competed well for. But it was just another interesting tweak in an interesting game plan all round. Yeah, so 7.5 for Iorfa. And then what about Tom Lees, who we know now is vice captain of the team, by the way?
Vice captain Tom Lees. I thought Lees was good. I'm happy for this. I'm happy for more kind of solid Tom Lees performances. It's interesting when we were doing, in last season during the lockdown, Rich and I, we did some recaps of some really big games from Wednesday, including obviously the 3-0 victory in the League Cup against Arsenal on the Carlos, probably one of the finest moments under Carlos Carvajal. And it was so interesting to go back and look and remember just how good a player Lees was for us previous.
Yeah.
It's nice to see him put in a solid performance. He put in 1 or 2 after the after the restart the end of last season. He put in a few decent performances then, I want to say as well, amidst some less so good performances. Let's be honest. It's good to see him have a degree of confidence and, be part of a solid defense, which did really well today.
Yeah.
I think a 7 for me would be pretty fair.
Yeah, I'm happy to go along with the 7. I would be a little bit tempted to go slightly better, just because I thought he, as much more than the other 2, was the one handling Kiefer Moore, who we've said is a very decent player, and it's a player that we've sort of cast some admiring glances at, and he really didn't get much happening at all today, and I thought Lees was a big part of that, and normally he struggles against that sort of player, so I thought that deserves a bit of a pat on the back. But maybe I do hope not being captain will have a positive effect on Tom Lees, because I don't think it's ever sat naturally on him. I know Monk said, he's a natural captain anyway. I don't think he is. I don't think he has been. And I think it's been a crown that's, weighed heavy on him and I think affected his football. So I think the relief of having somebody else doing that job, having that responsibility, hopefully it gives him the chance just to get back to being a normal, decent defender. Then we had the surprise inclusion, the Joker in the pack, Van Aken.
Joker Van Aken. He was surprisingly pretty good. And actually, for me, I would have said if it wasn't for that, that big kind of input for me from Iorfa, I would have legitimately said he was the best defender, centre-back on the pitch.
High praise.
So I'm going to go for a 7.5 for Van Aken. Nice. I thought that he put himself around a bit. I think we really enjoyed some of the fruits of his, labour for, his talents of how good he is at passing and stroking the ball around. So, it's going to be, I'm excited for that. I'm surprised. But I think also previously we may have mentioned that another key game for him in the few times he's played for us in his Wednesday career was a really good performance away at Cardiff, where, he got forward and he made some really key passes. And I think he had like a second assist effective for the Hooper goal that game. Yeah. Well,
sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say it's just good to know that there's at least a good performance from him. I'm not sure if he has a Wednesday future, but it's nice to see a bit of a revival, maybe. If it's just purely just one game, it's nice to have something.
I think probably there is a space for him in the squad. If he could, it's his to make happen, but we don't, although we've got another centre-back or two, Palmer can play probably the right side of that pairing, the right side of the three, not pairing, sorry, the right side of that three. And he can play right wing back. Iorfa can play the middle or the centre, but we don't have many players that can play the left side of that. You really got it's it's Burner or Van Aken. And if we lose Van Aken, I don't think we've got a natural replacement for that left side of the three. So I think there's an opportunity there for him if he wants to take it. And there are good things about his game. I mean, he's quite comfortable in the opposition's box. I think I remember him scoring a goal or two that were like not typical centre-back finishes. Didn't he score a volley or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
And he can pass the ball really rather well if he's given a chance to. Obviously, we'll have to be careful with the opportunities he takes on that, because one of his weaknesses is he gets caught in possession. So, picking his moments is going to be a big thing. But if he can show the sort of discipline that Iorfa's had to since moving to that centre-back position and really only allowing himself 1 or 2 runs a game at most, I think this could be a really nice combination. There's a nice balance to it. Obviously, it worked really well today. They weren't pushed incredibly hard. It'd be interesting to see how they stand up against sort of tougher tests. But on the best of days, there's lots of good things to like about each of those 3 players.
Mm-hmm.
And if the combination of them means we don't get as much of the bad bits, then that's a pretty good place to be, I think. Let's move into the midfield and go for Kadeem Harris.
Kadeem Harris is always pretty standard, pretty steady. I thought he was quite good. I thought he was good today. I didn't think he was disappointing. Sometimes I think even if he's some player who's doubled up on or marked out of the game, or I still think it offers us like an avenue that it may be blocked off, but I think it then kind of leaks out elsewhere. Gives us some opportunities elsewhere on the pitch as well. So
yeah. He did produce one absolutely great cross that Kachunga got a nice header on.
That was fantastic. That was a really brilliant, deep in-swinging cross. I remember that one. He put over well.
Yeah.
And Kachunga met it very well as well. I mean, I think from where it was in the position of the pitch and maybe a lack of power for how far it was.
Yeah.
It was difficult to get it anywhere that was going to test the goalkeeper.
Yeah, but still, a decent effort. And yeah, I think you're right. I mean, he's even when he's not absolutely flying, Harris, he's still pretty decent. And 7 feels fair for him. Let's go for the deepest out of that midfield 3 and go for Massimo Luongo.
Luongo was decent today. I think he did a lot of kind of quiet, understated work, which I don't think really got the full focus, and sometimes maybe missed the focus from me as well. But I think that was also the benefit of the job that he did in that midfield. Shielding and doing some of the dirty work. I think I might have said this to you before, but it's weirdly disappointing in that we have such in the bank of 3. He's the one who's doing back and doing the holding. I feel like he has so many talents going forward with the ball that it's a shame to see him be the one who's dropping back and trying to break things up, or maybe not getting as forward as Brown and Bannon, but then you've got Bannon and Brown.
Exactly. I think it's both things, isn't it? He's probably not quite as good as Brown at being the kind of point of the 3, and he's also undoubtedly the best of the 3 at sitting back. So it's he's sort of damned either way in a way, because it would be a tough choice to pick him over Brown as the person supplying the bullets up top. He doesn't play like Bannon at all. I think Bannon's completely unique, but yeah, he's the only one that's got the engine, the discipline,
yes,
and the ability to do the holding role out of the 3. So it's going to fall his way if this ends up being our first choice.
Exactly. I mean, I think the thing is, we're not going to have. I don't think we're going to have a player who's going to do every little bit in the toolbox for attacking. And I mean, it's a shame that now here we are, and we're pretty much good as imagined that Kieran Lee has left us. Obviously, father time and age, Kieran Lee is no longer the player that he used to be. I don't think that's too damning to say that.
No.
But how much we enjoyed and how much we loved a player of Kieran Lee's capability, for his ability to be that kind of, box to box in a more positive sense, and someone who'd be able to kind of ghost into the box with the ball at his feet. Because he just had that exceptional radar and ability to do that. So it felt a little bit like, I mean, we missed that. Maybe we're trying to shoehorn players into that role, but it felt like maybe Luongo had a bit of that going forward.
Yeah, and I think he will have his opportunities. He had a couple of like half moments today. Even I think it can still happen even in this position and shape. But yeah, he did a really good job for the team. I do sort of share your slight disappointment that we don't get all of his facets in this position. I'm amazed that he was the only player that got a yellow card today. Particularly, I thought that period around when we scored the second, it just felt like all they did was foul Jordan Rhodes. They did like 4 or 5 fouls in a row.
Yeah.
I thought, you've got to book one of them, surely.
They said in the commentary that Bakuna was pretty close to, having a chance of getting a booking as well. So
yeah, there was Morrison and Bakuna. It felt like they were just going through the back of everyone. Anyway, so what score did we end up with for Luongo?
I'm giving a 7.
Okay, cool. Let's go to Barry Bannon.
Barry Bannon, I'm going for a 7.5 because I think he did some important work in the middle. Had a big hand in that second goal. Obviously, I think I've said this to you before. Like, it's funny that, just to kind of clarify, I quite like Bannon on free kicks. I don't like Bannon on corners.
Yeah,
I'm really not sure what he kind of brings to the table.
Yeah, that was a funny thing. The commentary for me, the Cardiff-based commentary, they were marveling at the fact that every corner he took was different. But I don't know how much of that is on purpose, and I don't know how much of it the other players are aware of ahead of time. Yeah. It's not always a good thing. I think having a consistency to the deliveries is probably easier for us to attack. But but his free kick's much more like a long pass that he gets the time to think about, which suits him better. So what score are you going to give Baz?
7.5.
7.5 for Captain Baz. Izzy Brown. Let's go Izzy Brown. Finish off the middle.
Oh, Izzy Brown was fantastic. Izzy Brown was really, really good. I think also 7.5 maybe as well. I don't know if it was quite the dizzy heights of an 8. I think there's more to come from him.
Yeah.
I think it's impressive that he played as much as he did. Maybe I think there's a bit more energy to come from him. But I think that's kind of. I think maybe I'm being slightly harsh with that. I mean, what a brilliant assist for the first goal. That was such brilliant, quick-witted thinking and creativity to just carve an opportunity out of an interception.
It's the reading. It's that is that classic. You've read the game. The fact that he saw Windass nearly catch him, so he steps up. You've read a kind of a movement deep in the water there, and then to have the foresight to not only nip in and get the ball, but play that instantaneous ball forward, and then almost the telepathic reading that Windass is on his bike as well. That was a beautiful moment, and the like of which we don't see that often, haven't seen for a long time. It was really a stunning thing to see, I think, in a lot of ways. But I also like the fact he got back and put his foot in. I didn't expect that from him. I sort of expected one of these kind of big time Charlies a little bit, in the best possible way. I thought he was kind of a guy that would drift around the game and not get that involved, but have moments of flashes of brilliance. But he looks a lot better than that, a lot more rounded, a lot more well-rounded than that, I think. So 7.5 for him. We'll finish off the midfield with Matt Penny.
So I feel like this is something I'm probably going to disagree with you on. I felt that Penny was one of our weakest players today.
Boo! Oh, everyone's booing.
I don't know. I didn't feel like I saw a great deal from him. It was disappointing following his man of the match performance from the bench last week. Not that I expect him to do the exact same thing every week, but it just felt a little bit quiet, a little bit subdued. I think he felt maybe a little bit up against it today.
I thought, he was that was their strong suit. The first until they started making their substitutions, their first port of call was playing down that right flank. They had 2 new players there, and they were clearly trying to do as much as they could with those 2 loanees in Osai, Tutu and Ojo. I thought he had a good thought he had a good game. I thought he was unlucky on a couple of breaks. There was one like really good bit of defending that stopped him breaking forward, and that would have been a nice move. And he made the runs, for when Windass shot. Windass doesn't get that shot away, the shot that he took straight at the goalie. Windass doesn't get that shot away probably without Penny's run to take a man's attention. So I think he did a lot of legwork, and he coped really well with all that offence going down that right-hand side for them. I think it's nowhere near the performance of, wow, okay, positional report from Cardiff. Sorry, just to kind of prove that they were really one-sided. This is the shot direction, but the shot direction was 29% from right down that right-hand side, 71% from the middle, and nothing down the left-hand side. They were more even in their sort of approach attacking wise, but I thought he did a good job coping with that. And interestingly, the commentators on Cardiff TV or Cardiff City TV were full of praise for him. They had him as potentially man of the match. They sort of said their man of the match they thought was Bannon or Penny.
Wow.
Which is interesting, but I think that speaks to how much they had riding on that right hand side, and the fact that they had to give up essentially and start lumping it forward is probably testament to how well Penny and Van Aken did on closing them down and stopping those spaces appearing.
Interesting.
Okay, so shall we go forward to Jordan Rhodes?
Sure. We didn't really give Penny a mark, did
sorry.
we?
Well, were you going to go for 6.5?
I was, yeah.
I think he's probably worth a 7, but I don't mind a 6.5. To keep him hungry, a 6.5.
I think there's still plenty more to come from Penny.
Yeah,
but I really hope he doesn't get put back in the cupboard like many a youngster at Sheffield Wednesday. I
know. I don't want him to disappear. Okay, let's leave that at 6.5 and then move on to Jordan Rhodes.
Jordan Rhodes. Here's the weird thing. I don't really recall a great deal from Rhodes. He chases a few things. He has a few touches.
It's that performance against that team that he did before he got the 3 against. Who was it that we played? Was it Brentford?
The Rhodes fracking.
It was that sort of thing again. Like he kept his discipline, and that let Windass take some of the openings. And it's not for nothing that Rhodes made a really good flick for the Windass chance. Where he sort of shot down Smithy's throat. That was a good flick from Rhodes. It was weird that he went with his head because he was almost like squatting. But I think in his own way he led the line fairly well. It's just that his way is not challenging for headers and then falling over when he gets it to feet.
Yeah. I think you can't give him anything less than a 7. I think a 7 is fair. What we want and the juice that we're going to get from Jordan Rhodes this season is him doing this, is him being in those positions to get that goal and to nab that goal within the 6-yard box. And, definitely the extra yards in his head, because that reaction from a flick on from Windass is really why you want him there in that position and up front.
Definitely. Yeah. No, I suppose, like so many, a 7 to me is probably defined by a person doing the job that they're there to do and doing it pretty well. And as we all know with Jordan Rhodes, the job that he's there to do is score goals and not much else. And he scored a goal. So fair dues. 7 out of 10. What about Trumpy Bum? Farty Pants?
Trumpy Bum, I think I'm going to have to go with 7.5 for Windass. Just overall play was really good, really productive. What a brilliant finish. And, the chance was given to him. It was a great assist from Izzy Brown.
Yeah.
But he also did so much to make that happen from there, to pick it up, to run with it, and to have that composure in that situation, to make such a brilliant finish.
So assured.
Yes.
It's weird I didn't doubt that he was going to score. I can't have said that. I can't have felt that very often with Wednesday players. But I just sort of thought he was I felt like he was going to do it. When
felt you had that moment of knowing when you saw him pick up the ball and drive forward with it, that's where it's going to do. It's going to nestle in the corner.
Yeah, it was really nice to see. So I'm intrigued. If Windass is getting 7.5, who's your man of the match?
That's a really interesting question.
Talk about. I'm intrigued.
Obviously, it's not one of the subs.
I'm intrigued that a goal and an assist doesn't get you an 8.
That's true. Okay, yes, good point. He gets an 8. He gets man of the match. He's got a goal and an assist. There we go. That's an easy one, isn't it?
Okay, cool.
Is it late in the day? Are we tired? No, we're not. We're just being very bullish and very decisive about what we think about things.
Is it worth whizzing through subs? Are we?
I want to, yeah, because I don't think there's some focus. I don't think I put enough on before.
So Adam Reach came on first for Jordan Rhodes.
Interesting, Reach. What did I think about Reach today? Reach wasn't bad, you know.
No, I thought it was in this new era where he's met with Gary Monk and they've both decided he's a forward.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
It was of the forward performances. It's annoying that Gary Monk didn't consult Different Gravy before reaching that conclusion. I think we should be in on some of these conversations, really.
I also think maybe I don't think the door's fully closed on him and wingback.
No,
I don't think it shouldn't be. He's never fully 100% convinced me, but he still offers his Reach goodies and the more positives of what we have about Reach.
Yeah,
in a wide berth, I think.
Currently, we're in the world.
And also the thing that kind of pissed me off as well. We'll get into Kachunga.
Even on the sunniest of days, Lucas found the cloud.
Always.
What was it that really annoyed you?
I was disappointed Kachunga didn't come on first. It's like, we're making a striker sub. Oh, it's Reach. What the fuck? I was wondering for a second whether Kachunga would never come on. That's what I was wondering, thinking, how pissed off must you be to have some largely ineffective, you know.
You were so angry on Kachunga's behalf.
I can't believe he's not a striker and Reach. Coming on in front of you. Right?
I can't believe right. He's not better.
He's all right because I think he still offers. I wonder if Monk kind of sees a little bit of. That's the thing that I'm kind of enjoying. I think under Monk and this kind of forward line is that the dynamicism. Is looking. We're looking a lot more lively in this, and he wants players who are more industrious and who offer more. Then, which makes me also wonder for the future about whether maybe, that's probably the reasons why I don't feel like maybe Rhodes has been so big in his conversation. Because you're playing a player, but all you're really expecting and hoping that he's going to do is basically just finish the ball.
Yeah, he is, whatever the polar opposite of dynamic is, he is that. Linear?
Exactly. And maybe that's more of a insight into New You, kind of maybe being... Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know. But anyway... Reach was fine. I'm going to go for a 6.5 for Reach.
Good stuff. Okay. No, I thought he had a few bright moments, and there was sort of a cutback that was a bit unlucky as well. So yeah, as I say, of this type of Reach performance, it was probably the best or one of the better ones of the Adam Reach forward collection. So next on was Kachunga. He came on the 70th minute.
And I really like the look of Kachunga in this role and coming from the bench and this cameo. He looked lively. He could look like he could have gone and scored. I love some of the... there was a brilliant kind of through pass from Bannon, which he got on the end of.
Yes.
Just great bit of insight to attack that space and Bannon to pick him out. Really good header. He did really well to get a header from that Harris cross.
Decent power to the header and just went straight at the keeper. I think if it gone somewhere else, it might have been a bit more of a question. But yeah, I like that, the one where he sort of muscled his way round Morrison and was sort of shaping up to either cut back or take a shot, and he got kind of pulled back. But that was a nice... shades of Forestieri-esque sort of play in that moment, in a good way, in the best possible way. That kind of, I don't know, sticking at it, basically making himself a bit of a nuisance. It was, it's nice to see a really promising cameo from Kachunga. Did you give him a score yet? Sorry,
I'm going to give him a 7.
7, nice.
Definitely my favourite of the substitutes.
And then Liam Palmer came on at left wing back, adding another position to his long list.
Yeah, and Palmer never looks particularly out of shape in many positions that we put him in. You know, we've never really put him in centre mid since, you know, he's been converted.
Yes.
We won't put him in that, and we won't put him up front. But everywhere else on the pitch, you know, he looks quite assured. I'm going to go for 6.5 just because of timing.
Yeah.
I just want to give a bit more focus on Kachunga for being the sharpest, I think, of the three. I'm really interested to see where Liam comes back and where he comes into the team. Obviously, it's off the week of him having a really brilliant assist, you know, in the Scottish national team. And you said he put in a great performance from what you saw from there.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, it was a weird team that they were lined up against, but he definitely shone. He stood out. Yeah.
So I'm curious where he's going to come back and what mentality he's going to come back into the team. I liked him today.
Yeah, good old Liam. Just to kind of close the loop, an antonym of dynamic could be stagnant, adynamic, undynamic, backward, or moribund.
Moribund is
and I think moribund is such a lovely description.
That was season 1 of Different Gravy, wasn't it? Moribund.
Moribund. You know how they say, like, you know, mercurial striker or whatever. Moribund striker, Jordan Rhodes.
Striker, Jordan Rhodes.
Stagnant frontman, Jordan Rhodes. Lovely. Well, there. What a great start to the season. More than we could have dreamed of as we tucked ourselves up in bed last night. Santa, the start of the season, Santa well and truly gave us a treat today, and mouthwatering. More to come. I'm going to say cheerio, Luke. I'm going to wish you the best of weeks coming up, and same to the folks at home. And so bid you adieu.
I will bid you adieu and wish you a great week as well, and to the listeners. Have a good one, everyone.
Cheerio.
See you, bye.